With a potential R rating and a Halloween release date, I've gotten pretty darn excited about Todd Phillips' Joker movie. But then, late last night, news broke that Alec Baldwin has not only been cast as Thomas Wayne, but that Phillips has reimagined Batman's father as a Donald Trump-esque character. I did not have a good reaction to this news, and we had some spirited exchanges on Twitter, with some of you pointing out, hey Grace, you love Elseworlds stories. I do. So why on Crisis on Infinite Earths do you have a problem with Alec Baldwin playing such a character? Aren't you excited to toy with the narrative and you know, that's the whole point of Elseworlds stories, by the way. You twist the narrative, you make these little changes that actually give you more insight into the mythology as a whole. It's fascinating. It's great. But in short, with this decision, I not only think it's lazy, but I don't have faith in Phillips to pull it off. I also think that the DCEU is in no position to start playing with something they haven't firmly established in the first place. All right, so that's the short version. Allow me to elaborate. So where I want to start off is that first, a number of you also asked me last night if this means that Alec Baldwin will appear in the Flashpoint movie, which in the comics, that storyline depicts an alternate universe where Bruce is killed in Crime Alley, genius, and his father becomes Batman as a result, while his mother becomes the Joker. Brilliant twist. I absolutely love that. However, as for the movies, first one, I think there's a chance that Flashpoint will only deal with the Flash solving his mother's murder. They might leave out all the Batman stuff, which totally sounds like something the DCEU would do, right? I mean, to me, the Flashpoint story is special because of the Batman stuff. However, I'm a Batman fan. I'm sure to many Flash fans, maybe you resent Batman muscling in on that famous Flash story, right? So we'll see what the takeaway is and how successful that is. Here's the thing. It's a complicated story, let's just say that. And it was told over many issues, and it has been explored in other issues since then. And a movie has like max 2.5 hours, and that's gonna like 2 hours realistically to tell the same story. I don't really know if Flashpoint can be told as a single film, maybe only if you do take out the Batman stuff, right? And then I'm curious, side note, are you interested in the Flashpoint story if it doesn't include that Batman stuff? And then two, the Joker movie, Todd Phillips' Joker movie, is a standalone film, right? Which means it has nothing to do with the rest of the DCEU, theoretically to give Phillips more room to play, or more rope to hang himself. And on that note, based on Phillips' track record, I have very little faith in him to be able to make these kind of sophisticated, tricky, creative moves. Rather, I think that he might be going here for shock value and have little thought to whether or not he could actually execute it. He might even not feel he needs to. He's like, if I get people talking, that's enough. For instance, if Bill Dubuque was doing the scripting here, who wrote The Accountant and Ozark, brilliant stuff, really meaty stories with a lot of dark turns, walking a very fine line, I would maybe think that this could work. And I'd be like, all right, Bill Dubuque, let's see what you got. And by the way, Bill Dubuque is already in the DCEU circle because he was going to write the Nightwing movie, which I've told you is not going to happen. But still, they've got his information. They'd be like, hey, Bill, you want to come over here? And I mean, Todd Phillips isn't writing this movie by himself. I believe one of the writers on The Fighter is helping him, but neither one is a Bill Dubuque. You have to get, just because someone's a good writer doesn't mean they can write anything. People have specialties. Now, also speaking of shock value, there's a rumor going around that in Phillips' version, the Joker is Thomas Wayne's estranged son, which means he's also Batman's brother. And again, these are really tricky changes to execute successfully. And again, I hope he's not just going for shock value. That's very short-lived. If you really want something to last, you've got to be able to do the work to explain it and why you made that change and how it benefits the character in some way. All right, now furthermore, as I said, the DC movies are in such a tough spot right now. They aren't firmly established enough to play with the traditional narrative. Exhibit A, mainstream audiences brutally and angrily rejecting Batman v Superman, which is a great Elseworlds story, and mainstream audiences couldn't care less. And also, when it comes to Batman v Superman, really, are we going to go from Martha jokes to Thomas jokes? Martha jokes are still around. by the way. And they aren't going to go anywhere if you present the haters, right? Because I feel the Martha stuff actually was interesting. Because as many a DC fan will tell you, not until that moment did many of us even realize that Superman and Batman's mothers have the same name. And like, how do you miss that? Loving the characters so much. It's crazy. I think because their parents never talk really. I thought it was really interesting. But it's still a problem. Some people won't let it go, right? I think it's a cheap shot, and I think it's not respectful of the creative chance that Chris Terrio took there, right? Terrio and Snyder. But anyway, it's so easy to say, oh, we're going to go from Martha jokes to Thomas jokes. And now we have a set of jokes. I mean, it's just why bring that upon yourself? And speaking of why bring something upon yourself, look, no matter how you feel about Donald Trump, I am sure it is a strong feeling. So I don't know why, again, an already troubled franchise would want to wade into that toxic vat of chemicals. It didn't turn out so well for the Joker. Also, if Thomas Wayne is a Donald Trump figure, does that make Bruce, Don Jr., or Eric, or Ivanka? You can't just turn off the metaphor when it suits you. I mean, you have to go all the way. You have to go the distance. And how does having a Trump-like father figure work or comment on the Batman mythos? For instance, I'll give you an example of a change to the Batman mythos that I think was very effective. So Jeff Johns in his Batman Earth 1 alternate storyline, Elseworlds story, right? He made Martha an Arkham before she married into the Wayne family. And there's always been a bit of craziness running through the Arkham family. They run, of course, Arkham Asylum. So that would mean that Bruce had some of that Arkham blood in him. And having a little bit of crazy would not only explain Bruce's obsessiveness and his inability to move past his parents' murder to the degree that he can't, but also to decide to dress up like a bat and fight crime. Plus, it solidifies that he knows the evil that he's fighting on the edge of insanity himself, with maybe a toe even over the line. That's brilliant. That's what Elseworld stories are all about. Again, I feel that this Donald Trump stuff is just shock value. And I don't feel that Todd Phillips has the ability to have that, kind of insight. So, I mean, although I have a lot of problems with Jeff Johns, and to be fair, he came up with that brilliant thing. So maybe Todd Phillips will surprise us. But why do we keep having to say that when it comes to DC movies? This seems horrible, but maybe we'll be pleasantly surprised. Now, finally, I said this was lazy. And what I mean by that is twofold. So first, we all know that Warner Brothers is trying to keep this budget down to around $55 million. And Viggo Mortensen, who certainly is not expensive, he said no, he turned this role down, which is a shame. I mean, at least we'll talk about, I guess I'll mention it now. The second lazy thing is that Alec Baldwin's already doing a Trump impression on Saturday Night Live. So not only will he not be doing something fresh for the Joker movie, but he threatens to take audiences out of the film with the inevitable comparisons to what he does on SNL, right? Oh, how is this different? Is it as good? Is it better? Is it worse? And I think so with Viggo Mortensen, at least you wouldn't have had that. It's like, oh, Viggo Mortensen said no. All right, who'd already this famous for a Trump impression? Let's get him in here. And then the other reason it's lazy is that, like De Niro, Warner Brothers has hired another well-known actor who lives in New York City, which means no hotel bills, no travel expenses for the actor or his entourage. So it's also a saving money move. And let's not kid ourselves. Baldwin is a lot of fun. I think he's a terrific comedian. I love his work, particularly on 30 Rock, what he did there. But he's not a great actor. I mean, someone recently said, oh, Grace, when we were talking about this last night on Twitter, they're like, he was in Mission Impossible Fallout. What's your problem with him? He was like hamming it up like crazy in Mission Impossible Fallout. He stood out like a sore thumb that he was like on the verge of like almost as like being in a comedy sketch. He actually made me laugh when in one moment in the movie when he pulled his gun. It was so ridiculous. It was endearingly ridiculous, but Mission Impossible Fallout is like a fun blockbuster film. And as one of you again tweeted me yesterday, the whole point of this Joker movie is to be of a higher caliber. So how do you stick Alec Baldwin in the middle of it, right? So yeah, again, maybe we'll be pleasantly surprised, but I think that DC this is a seemingly professional organization that should be moved past this. And I think that the reason they continue to suffer is that they have no captain at the helm who, like Feige, they don't even have a captain, but they also need a captain who, like Feige, has a deep love and understanding. Understanding is the most important of the source material. Once you understand it, only then can you play with it. If you come in and you don't understand it, if you don't respect it, then you're just going to make a mess out of it, right? So those are my thoughts. I'm curious to hear your thoughts down below now that you've heard my explanation. And of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.